Call to order. I will now call to order the City of Newburgh Budget Committee meeting for May 26, 2026. Natalie, will you please conduct a roll call?
Okay, we have Elise, and we know they won't be attending today. And we have Derek.
Here virtually.
Virtually, yes. Mike McBride.
Here.
Robin Wheatley.
Here.
Jerry Turgeson.
Here.
And then Peggy Kilber. No, they're here virtually. And then we have Ned Knight.
Here.
And Bill Rosaker. Then Joe Churella.
Here.
Then Austin Crackraft. Not here, okay. And then we know Ted is not going to make it today. And then we have Judy Brown.
Here.
And then we have Raquel Peregrino de Brito.
Here.
And then Alex Nichols. Okay.
All right. And now we stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I will now open the floor to public comment. Natalie, did we receive any public comments?
We did not receive any.
I will now close the public comment session. And on to the biennial midpoint overview. I will now turn over to Katie for introductions and presentations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming tonight and on the off year for the budget. We just wanted to have this meeting just to be able to connect with everybody on any major changes and kind of any updates that are going on in this midpoint year since we're not doing a full budget cycle this year. So we just wanted to kind of give a brief overview. Feel free to interrupt and ask questions throughout this. I think it'll be a fairly quick presentation. So we'll see if we can get you guys out of here in an hour. Yes, of course.
But we are going to, at the end of the meeting, show you the video that we're working on. We were asked by one of our councillors, Elise, to create some graphics to help the general public understand the budget better. And we came up with a really cool thing that we're going to show you. It's not finished and there are typos. This is an early version.
Yes. So stay tuned till the end to see that. Okay, I won't go over the agenda. This was just, I like to just put those in. Okay, so I wanted to go over what's new for Newburgh. Most importantly, Will has renewed his contract for 8 more years. So I thought that was needed to be included, that he's committed to staying here.
Even though I got an invite from Lake Oswego, which I'm not going to take.
No, he's not. So anyway, so we're happy to have Will commit to staying here for another 8 years. So I thought that was important to highlight. There also was a Public Works staffing restructuring. So as you all know, or maybe don't know, Russ Thomas, after 46 years, finally retired. We're so happy to have had him for all of those years and all of the experience and service that he provided for the city. So filling that role was not an easy one, but we have filled the Public Works Director position. And so with that, you know, anytime that you have a director leave or somebody on top, you kind of want to look at the overall structure of Public Works. And so that was kind of our opportunity to maybe look at making things more efficient with the staffing that we have. And so Public Works now has dedicated teams. So it used to be that in Public Works, all of the utility techs rotated between streets and wastewater and water and stormwater. And now we have dedicated teams for each utility, which we believe will be more efficient in getting projects done and providing better maintenance for the overall city. Did you want to talk on that at all?
Sure.
This was...
So, for example, there's now a stormwater and sewer team they are dedicated to that classification of pipe. There's a potable water team. They only deal with water mains and water lines. And there's a transportation team that deal with everything grade up. So we're also done some changes in the operations side at the plants. So moving the mechanics over to one side, having them report to another supervisor. We created a new supervisor position there. And we created a supervisor position in Public Works to head up one of the new teams, which was Blake Dorning, who successfully got the promotion to become the head of the streets team. So with them focusing on one type of activity all the time, we know that that makes their training regimen more focused. And the new director also wants us to become an APWA certified public works department, which we're not right now. And part of that is having these teams focused in on things. I think one early piece of fruit, I would call it, from that was the First Street water main midnight valve replacement went off during the night. It went off without a hitch. And the guys in charge of the water team were able to write a plan specifically for that. So that's a good early sign.
Yeah.
Just one quick question. Will, you mentioned the new director wants some certification.
Mhm.
What would be the advantage of that?
So by adopting, and I don't know everything about this, but as he has explained it to me, there are some professional metrics such as 100% certification compliance. Everyone has every certificate that they could possibly need, instead of them sometimes being lapsed and then having to chase after them. So there are tangible metrics that if you are certified, just like our police have been certified for a while, that enables you to keep up with all of your training records.
Yeah, so going back with that, so that kind of changes how we budgeted staffing in those utilities. So the supplemental budget comes before council next week. So some of those changes you'll see in those utilities really has to do with us moving people around just because of the dedicated teams, and we didn't have it previously budgeted that way, but we believe this will be a much more efficient way for us to utilize the current FTE that we have. Yes.
So numbers moved around, but they didn't move up or down significantly,
No.
just
Yep.
moved around. Got it.
No additional FTE, just a restructure.
Yeah. And we'll talk about the FTE in a couple slides, but this will just prepare you for that. Then another new thing is we've entered into an IGA for to dispatch with the Hubbard Donald Police Department. So I know, very interesting. So we're kind of unique where we're a city that has our own dispatch center. A lot of dispatch centers are, yes, I know, you're doing the money sign, which you know I love. A lot of dispatch centers are centered at county level, and we have a city level dispatch. So there was a deal that needed to be made there, and they were interested in getting some different service levels just because we had the capacity and we have that new communication tower. And so we just had the ability to take on Hubbard Donald Police Department. So we're going to be dispatching for them soon. Actually, I think we've already started.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've already started.
So, why would they come to us when they're much closer to Woodburn? Does Woodburn not have their own or their county or?
I'll say this as carefully as I can. So they were being dispatched by another entity that was not performing very effectively. And so the chief has been looking for methods to grow our general fund revenue. We're always looking for ways to grow our revenue. And if we can start to pick off some small communities nearby, which don't have a very high call volume, doesn't have to add another FTE to cover this, and they can get better service because our equipment is absolutely up to date. So.
So what is the amount?
That revenue we're going to receive?
Yes.
I believe it's around 120,000.
Is that per year?
Per year.
And do they sign a contract for several years or is that just per year?
I think it's 5 year.
The base year was for 5 years, but since we undercut the opposition, I suspect that we're not going to see any resistance to rolling that over going forward, as long as we provide the service that we do.
You said it was 125?
I think it was 120.
Yeah.
with index linking, of course.
Nice.
Jerry?
We've got our eyes on some other, sorry.
I was just curious about volume of calls and the really rapid response time we've been able to maintain for the Newburgh Dundee community, and if we see that being impacted by expansion.
I know this one. The call volume is estimated to be 2 or 3 calls a day, which blended into our hundreds isn't going to be a factor. Now, if we do take on a bigger town, like some of the ones we've probed, then we would have to add some FTEs, but we'd still make sure that it's always going to be positive in both regards.
Yeah, and I know Chief did a pretty thorough analysis on that, and that was one of the factors why we didn't think we needed to add any FTE for communications, just because of the call volume wasn't significant.
So I have another question on that. I like this. I think this is pretty cool. Can you say what other towns in the area we might be able to pick up? And our tower, how far does it reach out? Because everything's coming in off of our communication tower, right?
Councillor McBride, you wouldn't want the chief to be mad at me, would you?
I wouldn't want him to have to beat me up, so.
So there are a couple of other smaller communities that we're looking at. We have access to multiple wave bands, UHF and VHF, so we have options to do quite a large footprint. And then obviously if you have a community that's further away, they could build a repeater tower, and it might still pencil out to be better for them than having to reach our wave band. But I think if you watch this space, you may see more action in the future.
Derek has a question.
Oh, no, I was just raising my hand to just to add that higher call volume doesn't mean a lack of response from the Newburgh Police Department. It just means that the dispatchers are going to be slightly more busy. But in this case, like Will said, it's only 3 calls a day. That's nothing.
Yeah, thank you, Derek. Yeah, so that was some exciting news for us, and just, you know.
Good, I like it.
Yeah, some new revenue we'll be seeing next fiscal year. And then the rate review committee also met this past January, February, and determined the rates for 2027 and 2028, which helps fund our CIP projects. So water will have a 5% rate increase, which was what we had budgeted in the forecast and in the budget. Wastewater will be 4.1. That's just slightly higher than what we had budgeted, and that was because of a new problem that had emerged with the spring water sewer.
The Springbrook sewer line surcharging problem, which we want to try to tackle quicker.
Yeah, and so we had brought that to the rate review, and we had given them a couple different options, but we said if we had just a little bit more money, we could fix this immediately instead of letting it, you know, go on forever. And then stormwater was 4.5%, which was 2% less than what we had budgeted. And then the tough was 4%, which is what we had budgeted. So it was pretty in line with what we had already put in the budget. And that was just looking at all of our capital projects and the funding that we needed.
And one of the reasons why the storm was able to be a little less than the initial projection was because we had managed to finish the Franklin storm line, and it was considerably under budget. So that helped the model. And we don't have a tremendous number of other storm projects in the CIP list, so that's good as well.
Yeah, and we'll be going over some of those finished projects in a later slide. And then just the last thing was the River Street Ad Hoc Committee has begun. So that's a NERA project, so it's not a city project, but it's another big project that city staff would be working on. And that's still in early stages where the committee is made up of residents and a couple counselors, and they're trying to figure out the best scenario approach for building River Street or improving River Street. So that's in the very early stages, and that's a NERA project, but just wanted to touch on that because it was something we talked about last time. Okay, just wanted to advertise a few of our position vacancies in case anyone was interested. Although a few of these have closed since then, but most notably, our human resources manager, Allison, will be stepping down in July, which we are very sad about. But so we're hoping that we will find somebody good for that position. It's always hard when a higher level person is leaving, but we're hopeful that we're going to have some good candidates to replace her in that.
Not that she's replaceable.
Right. Okay, so I wanted to go over our FTEs that we've had. So it looks like a lot, but the overall change is only +1, and that is that communication officer, which has nothing to do with the Hubbard decision. That was, they have been asking for more dispatchers for several years now. And really, there was an analysis done on the department, and there really hasn't been any increase in FTE, even though the population has increased. And so they were just really running very short on trying to run a 24-hour staffing. It's really difficult with limited staff. So it was kind of a necessary position to add anyway. So, yes.
And Captain Simmons actually wrote an extremely persuasive academic white paper, which he submitted to my office, explaining how scheduling could create better work-life balance if we could add an FTE, and we could recognize that we had some cost savings. Artificial intelligence use has replaced the need to replace the second GIS position. So that was a natural attrition because of retirement. So we were able to, cost-wise, keep it balanced, knowing that those changes happened.
Yeah. And again, there was just analysis done, like the second HR generalist that we had in the budget for next year that was supposed to start. We've kind of decided that given the workload in HR and having a full-time manager come on, whereas Allison is still part-time, that we may not actually need a second generalist. So that we've put on hold, which it could come back eventually, but we've put that on hold for now. Again, the planning manager, it was kind of decided with the workload in planning that it really wasn't necessary to re-add that position, and it's been vacant.
And that one actually came from the director. So the director said, I do not feel that at this time, given the current workload, that we need to refill the planning manager position. So if housing production really exploded, that decision could come back.
Yeah. And a lot of these really just had to do with the public works restructuring, where we were just trying to find the most efficient structure on here. And again, most notable, when our grant writer had left, we decided to repurpose that into an assistant for Will, which everybody I'm sure is very happy about because Jennifer is fantastic.
Which, though, means that with the help of some amazing counselors who help me identify grants, we will continue to still write grants and we'll still pursue them. In fact, we just filed one recently, which was another DEQ grant attempt, and it's for potable water pipe for $900,000 and another one for Safe Streets for $320,000. So it's not stopping us from writing grants, but to be frank, we found it really hard to recruit a grant writer. And we tried multiple times to recruit a grant writer. And after going through that, I said, you know what, I know how to do this. I've done it before. I'll keep doing it. And we'll try to have some extra administrative help. And we actually got a really good admin person now who's helping lots of departments.
Yep, she's great. Okay. Oh, did you have a question on the FTE?
Yeah, just going back to the communication officer.
Yes.
The new one. Is that at all related to this debt that's about to be retired July 1st? Totally separate?
Totally separate. It was just for years, they have been asking for adding an extra dispatcher, and it's just never really been granted. And then just, oh, wow, our population has increased and call volume has increased. And
for radical transparency.
Yeah.
And also, they actually looking ahead to the next cycle, they would like to have 1 or 2 more FTEs in dispatch, looking at the next cycle, not right now, but for the next budget cycle. So as to create an ever more balanced workload for the people. And that's something that we will be coming forward. It's not something we want to look at right now because obviously we're not taking the 3% property tax increase this time.
Skipping ahead.
Sorry.
He skipped ahead. Yeah. Come on now.
This is a 24-hour call center, right?
Yes.
So someone who's worked in a 24-hour call center, staffing gets really challenging when there's not enough, right? So I think it's good that you guys are looking at this and, allowing work-life balance and easier of scheduling to support this group. So I think it's fine.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sorry.
It's all right. We'll get to it. He spoiled the slide ahead, but that's okay. You guys will act surprised. Okay. I wanted to talk about our fund balances and where we're at. So these are as of March 31st. So the beginning balance is where we started at the very beginning of this fiscal year in July. And you can see the ending balances there. We're honestly doing very well. Most of them are pretty much the same or better than where we were at the beginning of the fiscal year. So that's a very good sign of our stability. And things are looking very good on here. And I just another point I wanted to highlight in a later slide is the wastewater SDC fund, the Fund 46, with its large balance of 15.7 million. That will come into play when we talk about the oxidation ditch, because it is very key that we have accrued that much SDC funds to help us fund that large capital project. But I don't want to spoil a slide that's ahead. Did anybody have any questions on this before I moved on? Okay. Okay, so I wanted to give an update on the debt reduction plan. These are just some photos from the cameras and our sale of the Butler property, as most of you probably heard. So last week we did pay off our debt, which we were jumping up and down, very excited. So the debt is officially paid off. So I just wanted to go over some of that information. So this was our payoff estimate, which I think it ended up being like $81 different because of the actual day we paid it, but that's okay. This was just an estimate. So it was just a little over $1 million that we had to pay off. And we had our starting balance here that we accrued of the $15,000. And then we had our 2 SRO payments. And then we had the sale of the Butler property. And then we've had 3 months of the photo red light coming in. I know, pretty good, right? So there was just a little bit difference here of $197,000. We were expecting the photo red lights to come on much sooner, but as most of you probably already heard, we had to start over with a new camera company, and it took time to get it back up. So we're very confident that the photo red lights are going to bring in the money that we were expecting to pay off this debt. So we felt very comfortable moving forward with this plan, that we've met the goals on earning the extra revenue to pay off the debt early.
We kept on swinging.
Yep.
So on the photo red light, it's working good. Is there any complaints from people or anything like that? Okay.
No, I've had no problems on anything with it.
I've had no negative feedback about it.
No, I haven't had any negative feedback.
Yeah, this 51K, this is not a projection. This is the actual.
That's what we've received. It went live January 21st. Yeah. Yeah, as of March. Yeah.
And there's lots more safety too.
Yes. I would say we get a whole lot more red lights in this one versus speed. Actually, we do get a fair amount of speed. I shouldn't say that, but we'd also get more red light than we originally projected, because that is a heavy red light running intersection. So it's good. It will hopefully make that a safer intersection.
We're still trying to get the one on Main Street.
Yes. Yes.
So the Main Street one, we're working on a different solution because we're at an impasse with ODOT about the cabinet size. And even though there's a technological solution from our company using photo optics pointing at the colors of the lens, ODOT says that's not a sufficiently proven technology And so they're not going to allow us to do that, even though it is technically possible. So in other words, that would be where there's a camera pointed at the lenses, and when they change color, it would detect it and feed it into the system. So instead, we're looking at bringing in a mobile unit. That's a smaller camera array. It would go on a concrete plinth, and it would not be attached to ODOT's cabinet. So that's another technology that they have. So we're not finished figuring that out yet, but we are eventually still going to have a unit on Main.
Main Street is a problem. I keep seeing things on Facebook about the college crosswalk, people almost getting hit there.
Our vendor offered to provide the ODOT traffic people with the data that would prove that this device could function as described in an actual real world setting, but they have rejected it. So that's where we're at
Yeah.
with that.
So that should be coming soon. Yeah.
Anyway, we kept our promise.
Yes. So beginning July 1, this fee on your water billing statement will be no more. And as it was brought up to me, we should probably put something out in the billing statements to let people know that this fee is going away. So we will work on getting that on the next billing cycle.
And Emily has a press release about this that's almost finished, that's going to publish soon.
Okay, we were trying to remove, was it the public safety fee as well? Am I correct? What is the other debt we're trying to pay off? Can you?
Oh. You go for it.
Okay. So rationally, I don't think there's any viable way to remove the public safety fee without reducing our total number of police officers. Right. However, rationally, although council hasn't decided this yet, it's always so funny when you're at budget committee, you're talking to a councillor, you're saying, council hasn't decided yet. Council hasn't decided yet because we have to talk to council about should we roll into the next piece of debt reduction. The next rational piece to go for, following the model of a carefully run home budget, would be to go for our next piece of debt, which is a little bigger. And the next one would be our second smallest wastewater debt. Now, do you have any idea roughly what that balance is at right now? It's over $1 million, but
I think it's, no, I don't.
So we will bring you more information, but then if we next turn to the wastewater debt, we've got two bits of wastewater debt. One is smaller, one is bigger. I didn't bring the numbers with me off the top of my head. One's like 15 million.
Yeah.
The big one's like 15 million. The other one's just over $1 million for payoff. I would propose, if council's interested, that we turn our attention next to that piece of debt. We try and get rid of that, and then we start to get to work seriously on the bigger piece of debt. I will be bringing to council, as soon as I have more information, a valuation on all of the other unused land that the city owns to see if there is an appetite for doing some more land sales towards more debt reduction. But that'll be a policy decision.
Yeah, and part of our reasoning for thinking the wastewater is, you can see on this bill, the sewer fees are higher than the water fees, and that's primarily just because of how much debt there is associated with the wastewater fund. And so we would like to get that down and paid off early, because then that would have a big impact on the water bill as well.
Because approximately 22 to 24% of that part is made of debt. So you can see that it would have an even bigger effect on the billing statement if we could get rid of the debt.
Yeah. So that's going to be our next, well, once we bring it to council, we think that would probably be the best next idea for debt reduction, is focusing on that, because it would have a big impact to residents, is getting that paid down.
And the red light, camera, perhaps land sales, that's all going towards the debt payoff, right?
Yes.
The debt or the, okay.
Yes, but if we deploy, first of all, cameras are for safety, they're not for revenue. But if we deploy more cameras, any additional revenue isn't baked into the cake yet, and some portion of that could be used for other projects or debt reduction or whatever it might be.
Yeah. Okay, and then you already heard the good news about property taxes.
Sorry,
but-
Katie.
Thank you.
Yeah, so we had promised council and the residents and the budget committee that we wouldn't willy-nilly be asking for the 3% increase every year just because. So every year we look at the fund balances, and if we need it, we need it. If we don't, we're not going to ask for it. So you saw our fund balances. We feel like we would still have stable fund balances next year if we didn't take this. So this will be going to council on Monday with the staff recommendation that we keep the same property tax rate next fiscal year.
And folks, I don't mean to be like emotional here, right? But I want to just set the table for a minute. There is literally no city in the whole state that has done the things that Katie has done.
And you.
The whole team. Like the ability to be able to take a beat like this, the ability to have such discipline on spending, it's not normal.
That's right.
Right, we're the lowest. We have one page on here about.
Oh, yeah, the FTE. Yeah, that's at the end. Yeah. I feel like I should have reorganized this. I just wanted to touch on the transient lodging tax. So I only did the first 3 quarters because that's all we've received, but overall, we're about 15% above what we were last year. So that's actually a pretty good increase on TLT. Yeah, we're thinking it's probably the new hotel, most likely, that we just really did need that extra hotel.
And a new general manager at the Allison who's
Yeah.
doing some pretty clever things.
Yeah. Yeah, so overall, we think this is looking really good. And we hope that the trend continues because it's great for Newburgh to have tourism and it's great for our revenue, obviously. But, and then I just wanted to touch really quick on the late payments. The late payments on there were mostly because we were trying to get information from Airbnb and Expedia. So they would send us a check and then not tell us who it was for. And so we were trying to get the information from them, like, okay, well, who paid you? Who is this $18,000 for? You know, what short-term rentals paid? So it's been a back and forth with them, but I'm hoping going forward that we've figured that out now. So that's why there's those weird late payments there, is because they weren't remitting the information to us. They were giving us the money, but no information on who the short-term rentals who paid. So, which is not useful for our reporting. So. Okay.
Katie, I have a question. Is it still it's on volunteer basis to pay that fee, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Although we are looking more. So we do have a software called Rentalscape that will tell us if a property is being listed on a site. And so we are doing some more outreach now on those properties saying, hey, we see that your property has been listed on Airbnb, but you didn't remit a form to us. And so now we're trying to do a little bit more.
But we haven't taken any legal action against it.
No, we're just trying to do some outreach with people and say, hey, did you know there's a reporting requirement you have to do? Or are you expecting Airbnb to do that? And so now we're trying to close the loop on some of these with people.
Both of them. Airbnb
Yes.
sends the money for all the revenue of Newburgh.
Yes.
132, and the owner of the business also has to say, hey, I'm here, so that you know that they're.
Yes.
So
And
we're
on-
still primarily looking for voluntary compliance.
Yes, and on the form, they would say, we're expecting Airbnb to remit you this amount of money. Yeah, Expedia, whatever. So we're still trying to do some outreach with people, and we have a list of people who were still in contact with. So we're hoping to see those numbers go up even more as we do our detective work. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the capital project update, which I'm sure you'll be
Oh, yes.
thrilled to talk about too. Our groundwater treatment plant basin covers. That project's substantially complete and was on budget. And then the First Street valve replacement, water valve replacement, that was completed on time and 20,000 under budget. And then the HB 2001 Phase 4 was completed on time and $96,000 under budget. And then best of all, I just, I did it in a whole progression here, as you can see. The West Franklin storm line was completed early and $200,000 under budget. So would you like to speak on that?
So once again, how do we do this and no other cities can do this? Because we work hard and we're disciplined. So we pursue the best pricing for pipe jobs. We move very, very quickly. When you take too long, prices go up. You get the quote, you get the estimate, you go after the work. You get it done, you get the pipe done. And in fact, to this point, because of the way the landscape is looking right now for CIP, the Main Street, the valve and the pipe that's going under the railway, which is also one of our capital projects that's on the list right now, we finally got the permit back from the railroad recently. We're going out to bid, but we're going out to bid with 2 phases. One for the bit we were supposed to do this biennium, and then a stretch goal. Hey, what would your price be if you mobilized just once and you did the whole section? Now, this is to try and create some more competition so that if someone can bid on both parts and the price gets close to what we had just for this biennium, we're going to knock out the whole 4 years in one fell swoop. And that's going to save money, I think. The invitation to bid's going out soon.
Yeah, so we just wanted to report on projects that we're working on and we've completed, because I think it's important for the public to know that we are working on all these projects that we say we are, that we're taking your hard-earned money on the water bill for. So
because when we ask you guys for money, some cities ask for money and then they don't do the things they say they're going to do. So it's important to show the residents that the money that we take from their hard-earned dollars, we do the things as fast and as expeditiously as we can.
yes. And then just to touch on a couple upcoming tough projects, because this mostly happens in the summertime. North Springbrook Road and Mountain Drive is going to get slurry seal. And then sections of South Meridian and East 7th Street are going to get grind and inlay. And then other southern sections are going to get grind and inlay as well, which is going to be throughout July and August, most likely. Did you have anything to add on that?
No, this is just continuing to follow our council goals. So we're continuing to focus our grind and inlay work on southern districts, and we're just continuing to march along, basically sort of going west.
Yep. Okay, and then we wanted to touch on the oxidation ditch. So I think the last time we met, we thought the oxidation ditch was going to be 17.5 million, which it is nowhere near that. It's going to be 32 million, as we've discovered. However, it is not bad news because we will have enough cash to fund this and we won't have to take out any debt. And we're actually going to be doing some interfund loaning ourselves in order to do that. So the water fund is going to loan the wastewater fund some money in order to help us avoid some external debt. So we just were very excited that we had over $15 million of SDC funds that will help pay for this project, because that's what we've been saving for our projects of this magnitude. And we're just so happy that we have the cash for that, because that's very unusual for a city to have over $30 million that you can pay cash for on a project of this size.
Why no swimming?
Yeah, well, mostly because when I looked at this photo, when they sent it to me, I said, it looks like a swimming pool. But it's not, it's an oxidation ditch. So that's why. That's why I said you don't want to go swimming there.
So the thing about this is, what's the price differential? First, general inflation on construction has been gigantic. Secondly, it was not in the original thought to have to build another secondary clarifier. Those are the small ponds that have the little spillways. They're kind of a circular thing. And some RAS pumps need to be replaced to go with that. So that added about $7 million to the price, and then the rest was inflation.
Yeah, and at this time last year, we just didn't know what this project was going to cost. It was just a wild guess at that point.
However, even with the current population estimate, this will give us enough capacity to take us deep into the 2040s. And if the population levels out, and it might, then we're not going to have any expansion of oxidation ditch capacity anytime in the foreseeable future, because this does give us a lot of capacity.
Yeah, so this is going to be one of the biggest projects that we do for a while. So that's why it's so important that we had enough cash to do this. I wanted to talk about our health insurance. So this was a little bit of a bummer. So health insurance has really been, as you can see, it was flat for a while, and then it's slowly been going up, and then we got hit with a really big increase this year. So if we were to have kept our current plan that we were on now, it would have been a 20% increase, which was massive. And so we looked at taking a slightly different plan so that it was only a 14% increase. But this is probably something we're going to have to keep our eyes on in the near future, because rate increases like this is probably not going to be sustainable.
It's killing us.
Yeah, because it's quite expensive. It's a great benefit for our employees, but at the same time, we have to be realistic on the actual cost.
Excuse me, may I be reminded? So the employees, they pay no.
Correct.
100%.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that obviously makes it very expensive. Now, this change that we did this time to try to control cost meant that co-pays went up. Basically, that was the
Yep.
way we mitigated it. But if this keeps happening, I am so reluctant to take away our Cadillac plan, as I'm going to call it, because it helps Hillsborough and Beaverton pay more money for all classes of workers. But the one thing we've always had that they don't have is the best medical plan. So that's why I'm hanging on to, we're holding on to this with our fingernails.
Yeah, it's been a tremendous recruitment advantage that we've had, but it's something we're just really going to have to keep our eyes on. But I mean, at some point, something's got to give, right? We can't keep having these huge increases. We wouldn't think. It might be.
So they pay zero deductible, or is?
They just don't pay anything for the plan. So we pay for the plan, but they'll still have a deductible.
They still have a deductible?
Yes.
Okay.
For example, for the company that I work, say the cost of health insurance for the company is 100.
Can we use the mic? I can't hear.
Pay 70, right? So
Oh,
that's more.
can you use your microphone?
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. As an example, the company that I work for, if my health insurance costs 100, I pay 30, they pay 70. Some companies, I pay 40, they pay. So it really varies. Here in the city of Newburgh, the employee pays 0. You guys pay 100. So I think it's a great benefit for recruitment. And you know, it's a difference of a private corporate job versus a public. So there's all these things that go in place.
Yes.
So I'm thankful that you are keeping an eye on this because it's something that we do want to offer as a benefit for an employee, but then it has to be sustainable to be able to have the best health insurance, because I would hate to see, we still pay 100%, but it's the horrible plan that nobody wants.
Exactly.
So just so you know how this came about, back in 2022, I laid off $500,000 of managers. So that's where the original money came from to create the plan in the first place. And then after that, things were relatively okay for a few years. We were running really lean and it was good. The increases weren't as severe, but obviously this is now just going like a hockey stick.
And it might be not Newburgh or city or specific, it might be a market that
I believe
every
it's a
single-
market.
And
Yeah.
I know that because our HR, they, oh, we're changing from this plan to that plan. It happens with every company. So I'm thankful that you guys are keeping an eye on this, and I'm sure you will find a solution that will be mindful of the payer of taxes as well as the workforce who also have this benefit. So thank you.
Yeah. And then just a basic pension plan update. We have nothing for PERS because we're on the same biennium as them, which was one of the major advantages to going to the biennium budget. Our NERPS plan is going to have a 10% increase. That sounds like a lot, but because there's so few people in the plan, it really doesn't equate to a huge,
How many
number.
more we still have on that plan? Just
25 members on that plan. So that's something that we're kind of looking at. So I've asked our actuary for that plan to come up with a financial forecast for us to see what will happen in the next 10 years, because eventually that plan will just be something that we pay a lump sum to. And I think now that there's only 25 members, when we do the next budget, so after this fiscal year is done, it'll be something that it's like a central cost. So it'll be something that is paid for by all of the funds, just a lump sum, and not done as a percentage of payroll like we've been doing, because it really doesn't make sense because there's so few active members in it. So we're asking them to do a financial forecast for us because a majority of those 25 members will probably retire in the next 10 years, just looking at their age. So it's looking like that plan will not have a lot of people in it in the near future. And so we'd like to know what our costs are going to be moving forward and how we can most beneficially budget for that kind of a cost. And this is very unique to Newburgh because most other cities don't have a plan outside of PERS. This is just because we started with our own plan and then switched to PERS. And now we're stuck in limbo with both. And then once we don't have people in that plan, we still have to pay for the retirees and pay all of their benefits until there is nobody left. So more to come on that next time.
This was not a good plan from the past.
No, it's just something we're stuck with.
all the fun stuff you inherited, huh?
Yeah.
Yes, this was one of them. And then just wanted to talk about some of the grants we've received. So you probably saw in Newsburg, we received $750,000 from congressionally delegated funding, which helped pay for those water basin covers at the water treatment plant. And then that's a picture of the water basin covers there. So yeah, that was really grateful for that money.
Yeah, so I mean, we didn't want to do this project, but we were made to do it. So at least we only spent about 200,000 on the project net after the check landed.
And then we also received so far 340,000 from FEMA, which was related to our City Hall flood event. So we're going to be using this to repair the roof and do some window mitigation, just because our roof needs to have some updates to it in order to not have the same thing happen again. So we're going to be using that FEMA money to help us fix some of that. And that's just a photo of people on our roof. And then the Newburgh Police Foundation gave us a grant for $225,000 to purchase 2 drone trucks. So if you see those driving around, those were purchased from the Police Foundation, which we're very thankful for. And so then I wanted to touch on some of the state shared revenue. Again, the gas tax, it's the same old, same old. The state is still predicting that to have some decline. They're noting some of the long-term factors on this have to do with people teleworking and remote working. Uh-oh, did I do that? There we go. Thank you. Just having to do with people remote working and that trend. The population decline, that was very specific to Oregon. Oregon has seen a decline in migration to it since COVID. So that also has to do with the gas tax. And then just people moving towards electric vehicles. So that is still an ongoing problem, and we'll continue to see that with our street fund. And if you looked on the fund balances page, the street fund was the only one that had a decline. So, and that's really going to continue to be a problem until there's something fixed with the gas tax. The liquor tax will probably continue to decline as well because OLCC approved a construction of a new warehouse. And so they've offset some of our revenues that we get from the liquor tax on that. So that's probably going to be a constant decline for the next few years on that. The marijuana tax was just barely an increase, but they said it was really just stagnant because for every new shop that opens, another shop closes. And so it was really hard for anything new to come on that. And then the cigarette tax, we already know has been declining for years just because there's less and less interest in smoking. And then the 911 is for anyone who has a dispatch center, and that is based on the state's portion of the property taxes. So that will be an increase this year. Yep.
And then the other thing to mention is part of the gas tax issue isn't about the underlying rate of gas tax, because that's been very topical in the news recently. But it's about a sort of an inability to find a proper revenue generation method for people who drive EVs that's fair and equitable with the people who are on a gas-powered vehicle. So there's no solution to that has really been devised. So any number of things could fix that problem without necessarily changing the underlying state gas tax number. It could be a more efficient way of collecting some more revenue for EVs. It could be ODOT running more efficiently. There's a lot of ways to fix this problem that don't involve taxation.
I'd love a solution where the throwing more money at it it's not. You know, I drive an electric, and we also have a gas car. And I paid for the renewal for my car, the regular one, $325 yesterday, because it's renewing out. Like it's $100 for a fancy plate, was whatever. I remember when we did the electric, it was over $600 to do the same thing because it's an electric. So people who have an electric, it's already penalized by paying way more on, registrations, et cetera. So I don't know if, I don't know what the solution is. I just don't like paying more money for it.
Yeah. We don't know what the solution is either, but it's going to be a continuous problem with our gas tax revenue.
If I was running ODOT, I'd start to solve the problem, but I'm not sure that's on the cards.
You are here with us for another 8.
Yeah.
Okay.
I need to go back to that slide. No. And then I just wanted to talk about our future staffing needs. As you can see, we do run a very lean city compared to some of our neighbors. Although to be fair, a couple of these cities on here, like McMinnville and Wilsonville, they do have a Parks and Rec. So that does increase your FTE on some of those that aren't comparable to us. But I do think that in the future, we will need to probably look at adding some staff because we do run as lean and efficient as we possibly can. And we try and keep our costs down in order to keep a very balanced budget. But at some point, as our population continues to grow, we will need to bump up our FTE a little bit.
Katie, may I say something? With you guys' effort of, being very focused on, reducing debt and all of that, I think that the population does see that you guys are focused on that. And as we see our bills lowering and, service from you being excellent, it's a natural occurrence that as you grow, you have to get more people on board. So you will do that with the same, I trust, you will do that with the same mindfulness of like being lean and efficient, but hey, we need more help. So.
Talk about possible, it's a long way out, but.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clear candidates for the future that I can see a need for some more FTEs, where I would put the resources. I would certainly look at adding one FTE to the library, which I've never done, despite being a librarian, right? And then police dispatch. clearly, there's more work to do there. And then also perhaps code enforcement. He says he can keep up, and he's such a hardworking guy, but there's just one code enforcement officer. And this is a big town these days. One code enforcement officer. So if you asked me, and I've heard from other departments, we're fine, good technology, keeping up, more technology. But those are the areas where I would look to add FTEs in the next cycle.
Yeah, so something I just wanted to put on everyone's radar, that don't be surprised if you see us maybe the next budget cycle that we do have a few asks of FTE just to keep up with things.
Bring that slide with it.
Yes. And then I love to put these together, but just wanted to let everyone know this is where a lot of other cities are at, and we are not taking our property tax increase. We're taking a line item off the billing statement, and we have very stable fund balances. So we are doing pretty darn well compared to a lot of our peers. So I just wanted to point that out for the public.
You know, I really think that something just like this ought to go out in the water bills and stuff. And because people need to realize, yeah, you hear all the stuff that's going on, but they're making stupid decisions too.
Yeah.
And so I'm grateful that I think with Will and all the staff, I think you guys are really doing a good job. But we need to kind of toot our own horn a little bit. So many times they don't, cities or organizations don't really do that. I think we need to, because if it doesn't really get out there, then, you know, it could hurt us at some point down the road.
Yeah, they
Mike.
never report on the good stuff.
Mike, to your point, when it comes time in a couple of years that we are talking here about, hey, we need more people. If we don't have the population know that, what we will hear on the chatter is like, just want to put more people there, you know? So we have to really connect the dots, and having this type of advertisement for the city is super important. So to help you.
And also the previous screen showing the FTEs. Yeah, I get it with McMinnville and Wilsonville. You know, they've got their own park and rec is all within the city budget. But pull that out and look at everybody else. I think that's an important slide that should go out in the water bill too. And obviously get on our website too, city website.
LinkedIn, everywhere you go.
Yeah.
Definitely the water bill, because I think we all look at that, and I
Yeah.
think toot the horn, please do that, as well as the city council and the mayor and the people who have been going for the last few years to keep it solid, because that's why people want to live here. And everything else has been cut, because I have family that live in all different parts of Oregon, and they have seen their water bills go up or this go up. And well, I'm so thankful that we're at that 3%. I know.
Well,
Thank you.
we're doing in the middle of doing a press release about the debt reduction, but it sounds like we should launch a bit more information about what we've achieved over the last few years, and we'll do it.
There should be, and this is just a suggestion, there should be a flyer with the next water bill. And I know there's costs associated to that, so take that with a grain of salt, but that's what people open. I receive my utilities from you guys via email. So in that email, you can also put
Yes.
an image there. Also, when you go into the log into the city, there could be a way for you to put a banner in that, you know, I go in to log into my bill, that could be a way for you to also put that. So everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially that we paid off that bill and like, hey,
Yeah.
we're saving you $2.50 a month.
Yeah.
How about winning the fiscal battle as a headline?
Well, I mean, I'll let you name the puppy. I just want you to toot it.
That's all I had, but we need to show you what we have so far on the budget video.
Yeah, so we were challenged by one of our councillors to try to come up with a way to show this new interlocking, fairly complex budget cycle and show how it works. So I actually sounds a bit weird, but we were thinking about a circle, and I actually had a dream about a figure of 8, like an infinity symbol. So then I suggested to Emily, could we do this thing and make it a graphic showing this figure of 8? And this is an early draft. It's not finished. There's going to be some live action sections with guys with mustaches.
I'm told I have to be in it.
She's going to be the star of this video. And but this is it. So there's some spelling errors, but this is an early glimpse of this video.
The city's budget cycle is complex and involves a lot of decision making over the course of 2 years. Let's start in January of an even year. In January and February of an even year, the city calls together the Rate Review Committee to, you guessed it, review the rates residents pay. That committee hears staff proposals on rate updates, including increases or justification for not increasing a rate. The public is able to comment on the proposed rates package. Then the committee passes their recommended rates to the city council, who votes to pass the package or reviews them and passes them back to the committee for changes. The city council ultimately makes the final vote on the rates. In February and March, the city's finance and administrative team work together to examine our system development charges and adjust them according to inflation. Beginning in April, the finance team develops a new master fee schedule, which outlines all of the different fees people might pay to the city, from building permits to public record request fees and more. You can find the latest version adopted by City Council over on our website. Over the summer, June through September, city leadership meets to review our plan for capital improvement projects. This plan extends over the next 4 years. We'll update finished projects, look at what's in progress, and consider anything new that we need to plan for within the next 4 years. Next up, department leadership will take the last few months of the year to look at their individual budgets and see where they might need to adjust funding with a budget change request. We won't get into those in detail here, but in short, they allow us to keep track of where money is flowing and why, so every department has the funding they need and every dollar is accounted for. Now we pass over to the odd-numbered year, a budget publishing year. Budget change requests are due in January, and the finance team works hard to balance the budget. This process takes a long time, from January to June. The budget is reviewed in April, May, and June by the Budget Committee. This committee, made up of residents and City Council, suggests changes to the budget and then votes to approve it before the beginning of the next fiscal year. July marks the start of a new biennial or 2-year budget cycle. At the beginning of this new fiscal cycle, we'll start the process over again, prepping for the Rate Review Committee and reviewing our system development charge tables to update them at the beginning of the next year.
Good.
Yep.
This
that's what
is
we have
really
so far.
good.
Who's the speaker in that?
Emily.
Oh, okay.
So we think that this thing that we built is not just efficient, we think it's beautiful.
Yes, so we'll let you guys know when we have the final product, but we just wanted you to know we're working on this budget video and it's coming along, so.
You should definitely do some kind of ownership of that idea of that continuity, because that's really good. That's really, really very good to explain to the layperson who knows nothing about this. So kudos for that. And also toot that horn and show that out.
Yes.
Because it's important for people to know.
We'll work on getting something in the billing statement. Oh, yes.
I just want to echo that. And I think that the figure eight, that's an incredible teaching tool, but then having Emily do like Facebook, social media, like here we are, this is what's happening this month in your local government, that you can use that as languaging to continue to push out and update and educate the community, I think would be incredibly amazing. And I agree, celebrating the really good work that you all are doing, and whether it's through the water bill, our social media, the website. I know Emily did a survey on how folks get their information. So maximizing that to really make sure that we're communicating out in all of the different spaces and places. put some flyers in the window in City Hall for folks who are like walking down the street, I think would be really good to celebrate the really good things that are happening, because it's easy to get lost in the negative headlines. So, and I know Elise wanted me to communicate. I know she's been pushing you for this. She's very upset that she is so sick today, because she would have loved to have seen. But
Well, we
from me, thank you for all of this. It's incredible.
Thank you. Well, for the longest time, we couldn't think about how to encapsulate this concept. And then just a crazy idea, and they didn't shoot it down. They thought, okay, let's see if we can do it this way. But you're right, each of those phase movements could be the cue for a push.
It can just then become this perpetual education and engagement cycle, so that folks know what's happening, know that they can come to a rate review committee and share their thoughts and concerns. I think part of many of the conversations that I've been having around all things River Street lately is folks not being aware of all of the work that is always happening and learning ways that they can get involved. So I think the more that we can promote that, the better.
I agree.
So that's really all we had for you tonight. We really appreciate you guys coming mid-cycle to hear the update, and yeah, we'll resume our original budget committee duties next April when we have a whole new budget to look at. Yeah, follow the cycle, but we will for sure push out the video when it's finalized, and we'll make sure everybody gets an email to them.
And there's going to be some comedy bits. So like there's going to be an angry guy bursts into Katie's office and says, I don't understand this 2-year budget cycle. And then she's going to go like, let me explain. And then it's going to cut to...
I have to do some acting, but...
Then after you explain, you're both sitting down there eating maple bars and laughing and giggling and everything all good.
Yeah. My feet up on the desk. No. So yeah, I think that's all we have. So
That's great. Any other questions? No? No more comments? All right, well, the budget committee meeting is now adjourned.